You guys, welcome back to King Ols, and yes, this weekend is the day of reckoning. Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin in our main event, and yes, I'm now going to be breaking this fight down, saying how I think it's going to go. And yeah, so my prediction for this fight, before we get into the breakdown, is I think Anthony Joshua will end up being able to stop Otto Wallin late. I honestly do see Anthony Joshua getting a late stoppage, and I am confident of this as well. I think, ever since AJ started working with Eric James, obviously he's been working with Ben Davison for this fight. I feel like Anthony Joshua's been working a lot on his overall boxing technique, and he's been working a lot on his footwork, working on the jab, which is getting better, and his overall boxing IQ he's been working on with Derek James. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now. AJ's been training with Ben Davison, but I feel like we're going to see AJ mix it up a lot more now. He's working with Ben Davison. I have a feeling, and I also feel like now Anthony Joshua is coming into this fight with a knockout, coming off of a knockout win over Robert Helenius. I feel like that's a great thing to happen for Joshua, to get a knockout win in his last fight, and it's going to give him confidence. He's already fought twice this year. This will be AJ's third time fighting this year. So, I feel like Anthony Joshua is improving a lot on the technical side of things, but we need to see him be less gun shy, and we need to see the more explosive Anthony Joshua. I have a feeling he will mix it up a bit here, though. I feel like we're going to see him stick to the boxing a bit, and then I feel like we are going to see him get a little bit more explosive later on. That's what I feel like will happen. Wallin, we'll look at him in a minute. A lot of the time, no, it just looks like Otto Wallin just kind of plods forward quite a bit. He puts the pressure on you really well, though, and I feel like Wallin is very capable of being able to cause anyone problems, and he can cause AJ issues. But I have a feeling if AJ can keep this fight at a good range, and then suddenly become explosive out of nowhere, get behind the jab, and then suddenly, start throwing good big combination shots. That's what Anthony Joshua needs to do. Mix the box, mix some good boxing in with some, big explosive combinations. That's what AJ needs to do here. And I honestly do have a feeling training with Ben Davison could honestly help benefit that. I honestly do feel like that could happen. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, Wallin is going to be trying to cut the ring off. Obviously, yes, Wallin is actually a southpaw. AJ's going to have to be moving a lot to his left, getting away from the left hand of Wallin. I feel like AJ is going to have to be really active with his jab. But yeah, I'm not going to show too much to the copyright. But yeah, obviously, this is a little bit of Joshua against Ruiz, of course. Joshua was moving well here. And Joshua, obviously, he was trying to keep this fight at range. He was putting his combos better together in this fight than what we did see from him when he was fighting Helenius in his last fight. But yeah, overall, I feel like that's a good right hand there. I feel like AJ just he is very good at being able to step into range well, and I feel like he's timing himself well. I feel like Joshua does need to move about a bit. People do say that Anthony Joshua does struggle against southpaws. He was able to beat Charles Martin. He's only fought two southpaws, though. He beat Charles Martin, and he lost to Usyk. But I feel like Usyk's going to beat anyone at heavyweight, though. So, yeah, but I don't really think we can say, AJ's awful against southpaws, because I don't think he is. It hasn't fully been proven. He's lost to Usyk twice, and Usyk's like the best heavyweight in the world, though. And AJ went on beat Charles Martin as well, though. So, I mean, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like AJ is going to have to keep this fight at a range, but eventually I feel like he's going to have to keep this fight at a good range, keep Wallin off with the jab, but I feel like AJ's then eventually going to have to come in, mix it up to the body, then throw some massive combos up top. And AJ's going to have to be a lot less gun shy, which I honestly believe he will be. I feel like he will be less gun shy, to be fair. And I feel like Anthony Joshua will come into this fight with more confidence. We've seen Joshua's attitude in the build-up coming up to this fight. AJ seems ready for a fight. AJ seems really, really ready to go and ready for a fight. So I am confident in AJ. I am confident in AJ to get this late stoppage, to be honest with you. And I honestly do feel like AJ could be able to outbox Wallin for quite a bit of the fight as well, to be fair. I feel like I know, but to be fair, I feel like AJ will be up on the card. Wallin will be able to pick up a few rounds though, but it's going to be interesting. Let's have a look at Wallin here now though. So obviously this is his last fight against Gaziev in September. I mean, Wallin was boxing quite off the back foot a bit in this fight. Staying behind the jab, but I mean, I feel like with Wallin, he obviously, he's not exactly the hardest hitting heavyweight. He does like to, Wallin is good at being able to go the distance. And, Wallin's only really his only defeats to Tyson Fury where, Wallin caused him trouble a bit in that fight as well. So, you can't say that this isn't a dangerous fight for AJ. AJ is taking a big risk here, so you need to give AJ all the credits in the world. And you need to give Wallin credit for taking this fight as well. But the pressure's on AJ here. But I feel like, I mean, Wallin showing some alright movement, but I feel like I don't think there's much Wallin hasn't really been showing too much head movement, to be fair, and I feel like at times Wallin can be open to a right hand. I honestly do. I feel like AJ could be too quick for him at times, to be honest with you. I honestly do. Wallin can be quite slow. He does Wallin pressures you well and does put his shots together when he does get into range. But we saw when AJ was fighting Ruiz, we saw when, especially in that fight where AJ is able to get in and out of range quite quickly, to be fair. I feel like he can do it in this fight. But, I feel like AJ needs to be explosive in order to beat Wallin, though. 100%. Because I do feel like Wallin does cover up well. And Wallin is good at being able to counter you. So AJ does need to be quick in and out, but he does need to be explosive at the same time, pitting his shots together well. And I feel like AJ will be able to get also Wallin out of there. I honestly do. Let's forewind a bit. Oh, for God's sake. Hate these adverts. Okay, anyway. Don't know why it's showing an advert on the actual video. Okay, let's go. Right, here we go. So yeah, Wallin, I feel like Wallin will be boxing off the back foot quite a lot in this AJ fight as well. I do see Anthony Joshua taking the front foot in this fight, to be honest with you. But, it's going to be interesting because Wallin's always going to want to come forward, stepping in well with that jab. Joshua does need to be very defensive. He does need to be defensively minded, of course. But at the time, we don't want him to be too defensively minded. We want to see him more explosive. Anthony Joshua. It's going to be interesting. Wallin will look to box off the back foot and can move well. He can move around well, and Wallin will look to try and change angles a bit in this fight. Wallin is no step over for anyone. Wallin is honestly no step over for anyone, in my opinion. And honestly is a real tough challenger for most guys in the heavyweight division. But I feel like with Wallin, I feel like a lot of the time, Wallin doesn't commit enough with his left hand. That's the thing with Wallin. And I feel like that's going to be able to catch up with him in this fight. I feel like Wallin, he is a good southpaw, but he's not as good. He's nowhere near as good as Usyk. And, he moves nowhere near as good as Usyk, nowhere near as quick, doesn't have the IQ of Usyk. So, and as I just feel like Wallin doesn't commit enough, I have a feeling that could make AJ feel more confident because he's like, I'm not really feeling too much of the power here. That can make AJ become more explosive, to be fair. And I feel like Wallin is 100% an easier target than Usyk is, 100%. And, I feel like Wallin and Usyk, they kind of have similar power. But I feel like as Wallin doesn't move as much as well as Usyk at all, I feel like it can make AJ more confident, and I feel like AJ will be able to find the target fairly easily on Wallin because I don't think Wallin has the head movement to keep away from AJ's right hand for the whole time, and I feel like Wallin will eventually be able to gas out. I feel like AJ will gas out at a point as well. He might, but I feel like AJ. I feel like, the power will be there for AJ to be able to get him out of there, and I don't think Wallin will. But if AJ doesn't get out, though, I feel like, no, to be fair, though, I do see Anthony Joshua kind of actually being able to time his pace well, and I feel like Wallin needs to do the same thing. They need to time themselves well, because they can both gas out. That's heavyweight boxing for you. Heavyweights do gas out. But it's going to be an interesting one. Unless you're Usyk. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I do think AJ manages gas tank well when he fought Franklin, to be fair. I do think Anthony Joshua manages gas tank well in the Franklin fight. I honestly see Anthony Joshua proving so many people wrong here and putting on a real good statement. I honestly do. And look, I'm a huge Anthony Joshua fan. So I might be a bit biased when I'm saying that, but I honestly do believe Joshua will prove all the haters wrong. I honestly do, and I hope he does as well. I hope he proves a lot of people wrong, and I feel like he will. I'm going to say that Anthony Joshua gets a stoppage, and I'm going to say Joshua gets a stoppage in round 7. That's what I'm going to say. Round 7, anti-Joshua stoppage. That's what I'm saying. I feel like he's going to be able to catch Wallin with a big shot, and Wallin won't like it as the fight goes on. And I feel like Joshua will be able to pick up the rounds as well. I feel like Joshua can get a fairly dominant win here. Not going to lie, I do think he can. It's going to be interesting though. Wallin can cause problems, but I feel like AJ will be able to pick up quite a few of the rounds though before he gets the stoppage. It's going to be interesting. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. Thanks for watching the video, okay? I'll speak to you on a bit. Thanks for watching. Peace out.